And we have particularly taken three phases, that is the pre-liberalization, post-liberalization and the recent years. We basically wanted to see that what was the impact of the foreign exchange and the Sensex returns on before 1991 reforms were there. And the post-liberalization, we took the data of 2008 where there was maximum volatility because of the recent financial crisis. And the recent years we have taken the 2012 data and we would we used that what is the post-liberalization two phases, the main economic crisis and currently what is the trends going on in the market, and the empirical analysis of these three phases. The motivation behind this case study was that our interdependence between the stock prices and the exchange rates will give a lot of crucial issues to the international financial players. And the study will also help in guiding the brokers, agents, planners and government policy makers to make their decisions. We have basically used some literature survey. One of the literature surveys is the interrelationship between stock market and the foreign exchange market. The main thing, it was in March 2001 when the publication was done. They took the data of 1993 till 1993 and analyzed the interrelationship. And they found that there was actually no relationship during that time. So this was a pre-liberalization period, and so their hypothesis was not confirmed with the data. And second, the literature survey was the volatility spillover between stock and foreign exchange market, the Indian evidence. In this, basically, we try to see the long-run relationship between the two markets, and that there is a unidirectional causality between the two variables in either way. So this is our basic regression equation, the mean equation. So in this we have YT, that is the dependent variable, that is the Sensex rate, and the XT, that is the exchange rate. And UT is the error term which follows a normal variance curve. So the issue with this regression model is that basically it assumes that there is a constant volatility in the residue. And the problem with the ARIMA model is that the Sensex returns and the exchange returns are stationary but very high volatile series. And because of which there is a lot of emphasis to get the volatility which is there in the residue present, and to measure the heteroscedastic error in the variance. And so we go into the Gauge model. Basically, the Gauge model, we try to take the exponential Gauge model. Basically, in this, the advantage is that we don't have no restriction of the non-negativity needs to be imposed on the estimation. This is the basic mathematical representation of the Gauge model, which we have already discussed. Basically, the constants on this equation give us the size effect, the symmetric effect, and the persistence effect. About the data description, as mentioned, the spans we have taken is pre-liberalization, post-liberalization, and current trends. 1990 data, 2008 data, and 2012 data. The frequency is 5-day working daily data. The sources are BSE Sensex and for exchange rate, RBI, India Stat, and Federal Reserve Bank. These are just the graphical representation of how the two rates have behaved over the years from 1992 to 2011. Similarly, we have taken, that was the annual data. Now these are the daily data in the 1990 to 1991 period. We would not like to get any analysis from this. We will prove it empirically. What do these graphs mean? Similarly, in the post-liberalization, that is the 2008 period, this is how the two Sensex and Forex behave. And similarly, the recent years, this is the behavior. Now we move on to the empirical analysis, which will be handled by Sanjeev.
Good afternoon, everybody. After the graphical representation, we will try to empirically analyze all the data we have collected to see how they behave together. We started with 1991 data, and we did regression analysis. The analysis was that there is no relationship and but the result that we found is the null hypothesis was accepted, and we identified that there was no relationship during 1990s and 1991 data. It means that the return on the census and return on the exchange rate, they were independently working. There was no the impact of one was not on the other. Next, when we took data of 2008, and similarly we had the null hypothesis that there is no relationship, but here the null hypothesis was rejected, and which means that the post-utilization return on census depend on return on exchange rate. So these two were interdependent at that time. These two were influencing each other. But because as we earlier said that the data are highly volatile in nature, so we cannot regression just take care of the mean part of the equation. And we assume that the variance are constant over the time. But it has been seen that in high volatile data, the variance also fluctuates. So to test whether the variance are constant or not, we did the ASH test, and the null hypothesis was that the residual variance is constant over time. But here we find that the null hypothesis was rejected. This means that there was a variance, that the variance was not constant with these two data. So after we captured both mean as well as variance equation, we model it. After modeling, these are the results available here. The result of the ARCH model indicates that all factors are significant, like mean, size, asymmetry, and persistence. All are significant, and it just gives us an indication such that the asymmetric is negative. It says that the negative shock on return on exchange rate adds more volatility in census rather than the positive shock. This implies that the moment the return on exchange rate reduces, this will impact census more as compared to when the return on exchange rate increases. At the same time, we see the persistence is very high. So we can say that any fluctuation in exchange rate will have a long effect on census. You can just correlate 1990. There was no relationship. So anybody who was planning at that point of time would not have to bother about the exchange rate. Now he has to bother. And even the mean equation gives us a result that 10% increase in exchange rate will decline census by 6.5%. So he has to keep in mind that any change in exchange will have this much effect on census. Next, we did we redid the ASH test, confirming that there is no ARCH effect. Means now we have modeled completely, and all the variants are constant. So this proved that all the variants are constant. Similar regression we did on 2012 data. Here also we identified that the current trend return on census depend on return on exchange rate. Next, similarly we did the ARCH effect. We identified that yes, the variants are not constant. We modeled both variance and mean, and here the results are totally different. But were there in 2008. But we can see here at most of the what we see here is most of the parameters are insignificant. Here the asymmetric is insignificant. This implies that any effect, either positive or negative, will have effect on return on exchange will have equal effect on census. So in the previous case it was